Gooners, drop everything because this is huge. Arsenal have finally decided to make their move for a player Arteta's been obsessed with. We've got official confirmation of a £51 million signing with medical happening tomorrow. And Gabriel Jesus has sent a message that changes everything about his Arsenal future. Let's go. Gooners, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Arsenal have finally decided to make their move for Kenan Yildiz. And according to reports, Mikel Arteta is particularly keen on this one. Sacha Tavolieri reports that Yildiz is a dream signing for Arteta this summer, and Arsenal have now decided to make their move in the coming days. The Gunners are expected to make an approach to Juventus, and the club are described as fully committed to this pursuit. Fully committed. That's not just interest anymore, Gooners. That's Arsenal saying we're going all in on this signing. Arteta has reportedly been pushing for this move for some time. Arsenal are now ready to pull out all the stops to try and sign the 21-year-old. This isn't casual interest. This is Arteta getting exactly what he wants. On the Juventus side, Matthijs Pog reports that Arsenal are back in the race for Yildiz, and Arteta is crazy about the player. Crazy. That's how much Arteta wants this signing to happen. But here's the challenge. Juventus say he's not for sale. This would only change if Yildiz himself pushes for a move. However, an offer is still expected this week, so Arsenal are moving forward regardless of what Juventus are currently saying. Juventus general manager Damian Comolli has previously described Yildiz as untouchable and at the centre of our project. Comolli confirmed that Arsenal want Yildiz but added they wouldn't sell even if they offered €100 million. 100 million and Juventus still say no. That tells you everything about how highly they rate this kid. But Arsenal are still lurking. James McNicholas reported for The Athletic that Arsenal are waiting to see if the market makes either Yildiz or Julian Alvarez from Atletico Madrid available. Both clubs are currently insisting they don't want to sell, but here's my take, Gooners. When Arteta gets obsessed with a player like this, it usually happens eventually. Look at Rice. Look at Zubimendi. When Arteta identifies someone as the guy, Arsenal find a way. This is going to be a massive story to follow. Juventus say untouchable now, but football has a funny way of changing minds when enough money is on the table. Keep your eyes on this one, Gooners. It could explode any day now. Alright, Gooners, this is confirmed. Not rumours, not speculation. David Ornstein, the most reliable journalist in football, has revealed that Arsenal have agreed a deal worth over £51 million to sign Ezri Konsa. This happened after William Saliba suffered an injury during the World Cup that's likely to rule him out for several months. Arteta made signing a new right-sided defender an absolute priority, and Konsa is now on his way to the Emirates. According to Ornstein, Arsenal and Aston Villa have agreed a fee worth £51 million, plus add-ons for the 28-year-old. Konsa has already said his goodbyes to Aston Villa teammates and staff. He's expected to undergo a medical in London on Thursday before signing a long-term contract. Let that sink in. He's already saying goodbye to Villa. This deal is basically done. It was reported earlier this week that both clubs were closing the gap in valuation. Arsenal initially tabled a £30 million bid, but Aston Villa valued Konsa at £60 million and weren't budging. Somehow both sides met in the middle at £51 million. Arsenal had also been looking at Bayer Leverkusen's Ezri Konsa as an alternative, but Konsa was always the top target, and now Arsenal have got their man. Here's why this signing is massive. Konsa has established himself as one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League in recent years. His exit is a huge blow for Aston Villa as they prepare to return to the Champions League. But for Arsenal, who already had one of the best defences in Europe last season, they're now even stronger. This could be the difference between challenging for European trophies and actually winning them. Konsa's performances at the World Cup earned him massive praise. His now former teammate Morgan Rogers called him one of the best centre-backs in football. Rogers said, "Honestly, I don't know a flaw in his game. No flaw in his game." That's the player Arsenal just signed for £51 million. Konsa will compete for a starting spot alongside Gabriel Magalhaes, Saliba and Christian Mosquera at centre-back. With Timber and White as right-back options, Arsenal's defence just got ridiculously strong. This is championship winning business, Gooners. Andrea Berta has done it again. Alright, Gooners, this final story could have huge implications. Gabriel Jesus has just sent a message about his future that you need to hear. Napoli made a transfer approach to sign Jesus, and Arsenal are open to a sale before the end of the summer window. Jesus has just 1 year left on his deal, and he scored 6 goals in 27 appearances last season while sitting behind Victor Gyökeres and Kai Havertz in the pecking order. Jesus was even left out of the matchday squad for Arsenal's Community Shield victory over Manchester City. That tells you everything about where he currently stands. Napoli want him after selling Romelu Lukaku to Fenerbahce. Arsenal have set a £20 million asking price. But here's the twist, Gooners. Marca reports that Jesus is currently not open to a move to Napoli. He's not rushing into this decision. Instead, Jesus is expected to take his time and consider all his options before deciding on a potential transfer before the September 1st deadline. But wait, earlier in the summer, Jesus seemed to indicate he'd be open to Italy. He told Gazzetta dello Sport, "I grew up watching Serie A and dreamed of playing in Italy. Scoring 2 goals at San Siro against Inter was like making that dream come true." So there's clearly some interest there. But now, with an actual offer on the table from Napoli, Jesus is hesitating. He said, "I don't know my future. I'm working now and we'll see what happens with Arsenal." This is a player at a crossroads, Gooners. Does he stay and fight for minutes behind Gyökeres and Havertz? Or does he chase regular football and fulfill his childhood dream of playing in Serie A? And here's what makes this even more interesting. If a deal for Jesus doesn't progress, reports suggest Napoli will also consider moves for Manchester United's Joshua Zirkzee and Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson. So Jesus isn't just deciding his own future, he's potentially blocking other strikers from getting their move too. The clock is ticking with that September 1st deadline approaching. My honest take? If Jesus wants regular football and a fresh start, Napoli makes sense. But if he genuinely believes he can fight his way back into Arteta's plans, staying at Arsenal as a title-winning squad player isn't the worst option either. This is Jesus' decision to make. But he needs to make it soon before that deadline hits. Right, Gooners, let us finish with the defensive injury update that could quietly reshape several of the decisions Arsenal make in the final 2 weeks of this window, because Alex Howell of the BBC is reporting that Jurrien Timber could return to full first-team training this week. After the groin injury that kept him out of the World Cup entirely and has had him working separately from the main squad throughout pre-season, Timber returning to the training group is genuinely significant news. And when you trace the knock-on effects through the squad, you start to see exactly why this matters, beyond just having another fit defender available. Right now, Ben White is the only natural senior right-back in the squad. Christian Mosquera can theoretically fill in on the right, but with Saliba absent for months, Mosquera is genuinely needed centrally. That means Arsenal have been navigating pre-season with a serious right-back shortage that has forced Arteta to use youth players out of position in several games. Timber coming back changes that picture immediately, and combined with Konsa arriving to cover centrally and at right back, suddenly the defensive depth looks dramatically different. Timber at right back, Konsa covering centrally or on the flank, Mosquera and Hincapié as further options, Gabriel as the anchor, White as an experienced cover across multiple positions, and here is the detail that connects all of this to the transfer window. Ornstein and ESPN's James Ollie have both suggested that if Timber returns to fitness and Konsa arrives, Arsenal may actually consider selling Ben White before the deadline. Everton have been tracking that situation closely all summer. Until Timber was fit, that sale was simply too much of a risk. With Timber back, the calculation changes completely. Arsenal only have 1 game a week for the remainder of August, so rotation demands are manageable right now. But September brings Champions League, League Cup and Premier League games stacking up simultaneously. That is when depth becomes survival. Timber returning this week means Arsenal head into that period in significantly better defensive shape than they looked even a week ago. Quietly brilliant news that deserves more attention than it is getting. So Gooners, does Timber's imminent return combined with Konsa arriving make you genuinely confident about Arsenal's defensive setup for the season ahead? And if Timber is fit, do you now think Ben White should be allowed to join Everton before the deadline? Drop everything in the comments. What do you think, Gooners? Will Arsenal actually land Yildiz this summer? Is Konsa the perfect Saliba replacement? And should Jesus take the Napoli move or fight for his Arsenal future? Comment now. If this video kept you informed, smash that like button and subscribe because we're bringing you Arsenal news every single day. Until next time, Gooners. Come on, you Gunners.